Penguin a Day, Episode 3, Daphne du Maurier's The Breakthrough. Dispatch the maimed, the old, the weak, destroy the very world itself. For what is the point of life if the promise of fulfillment lies elsewhere? Daphne du Maurier was born in 1907 in London, England, and she died in 1989, Cornwall, England. The Breakthrough was first published in 1966. This is one complete story that takes up the entire volume. This story is 58 pages. She had novels made into movies like Rebecca, which won an Academy Award for Best Picture. A lot of her writing can be called romance gothic, but many of her short works are much darker, tinged with the eerie and the supernatural. I'm going to have to say that I really enjoyed this story. After I was done reading this, I looked it up online, and the critics were a little bit harsher, saying that it wasn't as scary as some of her other stories or some of her peers' work, but I thought she did a great job of introducing the characters and the situation, and she kept the suspense going. There was a lot of interesting morality in this story, which really kept me hooked. Now, I am not going to spoil it, but I am going to give you a bare outline of what's going on. And I want to give you a sense of her writing style. In the beginning of this story, there is a person who is advanced in electronics and working machines, and he's asked by his boss to do a favor for a friend. And that friend has basically been blackballed because he works on like weird experiments. And so he's going to be the mad scientist in this story. When he arrives there, this guy is kind of a snob, and it comes through, and his character is so well written. So when he's talking to his boss, she writes from the character's point of view, "My chief paused before replacing his horn rims, always a sign of dismissal." So we get an idea of how snobbish this man is when he writes, "I said nothing. My Christian name is Stephen, nor had anyone ever shortened it to Steve." Someone not addressing him by his full first name was something of a discomfort for him. Now, when he arrives at the destination where the compound is, the place is very dreary and it's raining, and there are so many awesome comments. He puts this place down. He looks down his nose at this place, and it's so hilarious. "My worst forebodings could not have conjured up a more forbidding place." The person that picks him up states, "We get some pretty stunning sunsets." The main character, "The laugh with which I greeted his remark was intended to be ironic, but it missed its mark." And when he talks about how dead the place looks, the guy is talking about how there's actually a lot of life there. And he states, "I expect surprise that anything in such dreary locality should have a desire to breed at all." He compares the place to looking like a concentration camp and a deserted Dachau. Now, a dog races up to them when they get out of the gates, and the dog's name is Cerberus. So we know that he's going to enter a hellscape. So enough quotes. You can get an idea of the style. This story was very well written. It involves a mad scientist trying to find out what happens to the spark of life when it leaves our body. He believes that it goes into the atmosphere and stays there as energy. He thinks that if he can capture this spark of life as it's leaving the body, then he can actually harness that as energy. What he's secretly working on is being able to communicate through telepathy, and in doing so, he is using a mentally handicapped child. And throughout the story, he puts that child in great danger. And so they use this child in the experiments, and I have to say that I was getting quite uncomfortable by the end because of all of the danger that this man, who is obsessed with knowing about what happens because of an accident that happened earlier in his life. This is the first thing I think I've read by Daphne du Maurier. I thoroughly enjoyed her writing style, and I would love to get the collection of stories that this comes from. And so this is available in the Penguin Modern Classics called Don't Look Now and Other Stories. Now, when I looked this up, there are numerous other paperback versions of this, but many of them are out of print. However, being a fan of vintage paperbacks, I saw that a lot of her books have gorgeous painted covers. So I would actually like to pick up some of her novels in those vintage paperback forms. The next Penguin modern that we're going to be covering is by Dorothy Parker, and it's called The Custard Heart. As always, I want to thank you for the support, and any comments that you have are greatly appreciated.